Trans model Amia Scott and Benjamin Bratt star in Fox's musical drama Star, about the music business, photo, Fox. Joe Biden once credited Will and Grace for shifting public perception on gay rights issues. But one cast member believes the show didn't go far enough in representing transgender people. "When we started," said Deborah Messing, "it was revolutionary to have two gay characters, so what we were able to address at the time was LGB. We stopped at B, and my hope is that now we can finish the alphabet," she said, meaning T, that is. With gender identity, there are so many things being discussed in our culture now. Whether or not the revived version of Will and Grace follows through on Messing's mission, the trans community can point to at least some progress on TV. That includes the public support shown for a Survivor contestant who was outed as transgender last spring, and the casting of trans model Amia Scott on Fox's musical drama Star. Ryan Murphy's company announced last week that at least 5 transgender performers will appear in his upcoming series Pose, about Manhattan society in the 1980s. But TV still has a long way to go to make up for years of prejudicial representation. According to the media monitoring organization GLAAD, there were 134 transgender characters depicted on scripted TV show from 2002 to 2014. Most were villains or victims, 88%, and the most common profession among them was sex worker. As of August, there were 11 transgender characters on scripted TV, compared with 260 who were gay, lesbian or bisexual. And 3 of those trans roles were from a single series, Transparent, the Emmy-winning dramatic comedy on Amazon Prime. That seems like a huge percentage compared to nothing, but it's estimated that 1.4 million Americans identify as transgender, said Nick Adams, GLAAD's Director of Transgender Media and Representation, referring to a 2016 study by the UCLA Law School's Williams Institute. 11 characters can't even begin to represent the diversity and complexity of our community. The situation is pretty dire. Media matters. How trans people are portrayed in the media can have considerable impact. Shadi Petosky, who created Amazon's Danger and Eggs cartoon, remembers how shaken she was by the serial killer in a certain Oscar-winning movie. "I remember Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs and how people at school talked about that movie," said Petosky, one of the few trans producers in Hollywood. "People at school would say, 'Oh, it's so brutal and bloody and horror, but the worst thing is this character, this guy, wants to be a woman.' Like, that was the worst thing. I just remember sinking in my desk in school from that." Reese Ernst, a producer on Transparent, remembers watching a talk show when he was 9 and being shocked at how the host and his audience treated a trans guest. "Everyone sort of stared at him like he was such a freak, and it was just mortifying," said Ernst. "I immediately identified that I was like him in this moment of shock, and then I had the horror that I didn't want to be like that sort of sad image." Ernst, who created the online series We've Been Around, a collection of short films about transgender pioneers, had a much more optimistic reaction when watching the second season of MTV's The Real World, in which roommate Pedro Zamora dealt stoically with contracting AIDS.